welcome to this introduction to the new EMnify portal. My name is Jeff, and I'm a product marketing manager here at EMnify. And today with me, we have Jean-Nude, Head of Customer Success.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jeff, for hosting this webinar. I've been working at EMnify for over 3 years now, and I lead the customer success team. And with the new portal, we've received lots of good feedback, positive feedback from our customers, but also questions about how to transition. So I'm very excited about this webinar so that we can talk about those questions and make everything clear together with Michael Steiner.
Yeah, exactly. And together with Jean-Nude, we also have product manager Michael with us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I've been part of the new portal project from the start on. So I hope that I can give you a good insight into why we have been building it and so on. And thanks, Jeff, and also Jean for inviting me today.
Definitely. Thank you for being here. All right, so the purpose of this webinar is really to help our current customers transition from the old portal into the new one. And to help with this transition, we'll start the webinar by explaining just a little bit about why we decided to build a new portal. And then we'll dive into deeper about the differences between the old portal and the new portal, and conclude with some new and exciting features coming to EMnify. Now, before we really get into the content of the webinar, if you have any questions, there's this really cool feature in GoToWebinar where you can ask those questions, and that's listed out for us so we can view them. And we want to make sure that we get all of your questions answered during this webinar today. So please do ask questions. All right, to kick us off, Michael, why did we decide to build a new portal?
Okay, for this, I'm going to share my screen to see both portals at the same time. To start off, I think most of our existing customer base has been using this left-hand portal on cdn.emnify.net for quite some time. And it has been built as our first user interface that EMnify had for customers and also for ourselves for the administration. And we've seen that over the time, as we got more and more customers, we needed to invest quite some time into bringing this to a more modern tech stack. And as we were becoming more mature over the time, we decided that it would mean a lot to invest here to bring the tech stack up to the current modern security requirements. So we said, okay, let's revamp the whole thing and let's build a new one where we really tackle all of this security concerns that also were given to us by our customers. And also because we support quite many languages on our website, we also said that we should bring all those languages into a portal, and building internationalization into the old portal was just a hell lot of work. So we said, if we build it up from the ground, we bring the different languages now to all of it. And also in the modern times, many people use our portal and any application on their mobile devices, right? So on screens that are very small. And as you can see here, when you make this portal smaller, it adapts seamlessly so that you can use it on your phone. And this was something that our previous portal was supporting, I would say, okay-ish. But in many cases, we heard from customers that it's not a good experience and they were really lacking this option. So yeah, that were the main reasons. So revamping of the whole thing, and if you build this up from the ground up, you have like much more options to build it in a much more improved way that it can just work in any language and so on. Yeah, so this was our initial, pretty much our initial start of a brand new look for our portal, which now also reflects our webpage styling much more. So as you can see also here, we did a big overhaul, which now reflects our brand much better than before.
Excellent, cool. So when looking at the new portal, we have this brand new portal now, and there's a lot of users who are currently on the older version of the portal, and they're seeing this portal deprecated warning, which can be quite scary for some people sometimes. So what would you say should be like some key items people should pay attention to when going from using the old portal to jumping into that brand new sleek portal?
Yeah, we brought this deprecated message here onto the old portal because we were also asked by many customers that they don't want to allow their current users anymore to use the old portal because of security concerns over time, like that nobody would inject anything into there, that nothing will come up. So we said, okay, let's unify it also for our documentation purposes, that we really focus on the new one. And yes, this is now where a bit of change comes into place. And we really try to bring everybody over so that we can explain the whole process to everybody in the same UI and the same experience. So just before I go into it, we have a FAQ page here listed on this portal deprecated notification, which you can go to at any time, and it will help you go through all the points that I mentioned today. Here we also mentioned the webinar today, and one of the things which is really important, which I want to bring out now, and it will come later again, is if there's any problem with it, we now also have a feedback page where you can report anything directly to the product team. So please make use of this. So now going into the differences. When you first log in on the old portal, you will see this page where you can get your EMnify SIM, and you have some other options and some documentation and so on. And we said, okay, we take this page away because we want recurring customers to not see this every time, but actually get to the most important dashboard where they see right when they log in, what is their consumption and so on. So all of these metrics were taken over. And as you can see here, like already on the smaller screen, you can see more information on the new portal on the right-hand side than we had before. So now you're landing on the dashboard directly, and you don't get to the start page anymore. The next obvious difference is when you look at the navigation, there is now a connected devices navigation point, and you will not find endpoints and SIMs anymore. SIMs are now just listed as a SIM inventory. And that's already the most or the biggest change that we see when we compare these portals. So here we have on the left-hand side the view of the connected devices, and you see already here there's like 2 scroll bars, and you scroll left and right, and you see that the first device is disabled, and then there are some more devices below. And the major difference here is on the left-hand side in the old portal, this status here with a tick mark tried to indicate the status of an endpoint, and it didn't reflect the status of the SIM card which is attached to it. So this means if I go to an endpoint here, I could say I want to suspend the SIM or activate the SIM, but I don't see the actual status of the SIM unless I open the details and see in here, okay, my endpoint is enabled, but my SIM could be disabled at the same time. So this was something that many users said is really hard for them, because they want to have one status if it's working or not. So this we improved, and now we have a connected devices view, which really shows you in one place, you have your device and you have the SIM status here on the right hand as well. So device is disabled, which means the device and the SIM are both disabled. And if you have an enabled device, it means, of course, the SIM needs to be attached and it's enabled, right? It's not on this paused mode, which you can see up here. And if both are coming in place, so the SIM is active and the device or the endpoint, which we called it before, is active, then you can actually use it. And you can see this here. So my phone here is like the status of it is enabled. The SIM, of course, is also enabled. This means it can go online. But if you would go on the old portal and you would disable the SIM. So let's say I have this connected heating system and it's using this SIM ID. So I just have it in here and I suspend the SIM card. Then in my endpoints view here, everything would just look fine, right? Connected heating system is operational. There's a green tick mark. It all looks good. And in the new portal, when we fetch the SIM status, we detect, oh, the SIM is disabled. And then we also switch this status for the endpoint to be disabled, because it doesn't make sense to show enabled but not working, right? So we combined the status into one so that on the new portal you really see it. The other thing that customers were constantly reporting to us and saying that they would like to improve it was that they wanted to see if a device is online without clicking through every device to figure out which one is currently online and which one is not. So we are loading in this view the status of the connection as well, plus the monthly usage. So you get a list with all your devices. You see how much they consume, if something is online, if the SIM is attached, if the EMI lock here is present or not. So we put all of this into one view so that you don't need to go back and forth between the views.
Regarding the first change you mentioned, showing a consistent status between the SIM and the endpoint definitely makes sense, because as a reminder, our customers pay per active SIMs, and we had a lot of issues with customers disabling the endpoint and hoping, well, thinking they would stop paying for the service, but they kept paying. So this will definitely solve a lot of such issues, and we got good responses from our customers using the new service on that end. And the connectivity status, this is great. And obviously, when customers see this connectivity status, they want always more, right? And they were wondering, and this is a question we get a lot, will it be eventually possible to filter and only show the devices that are connected, and like have a view for all the connected devices and all the disconnected devices?
Exactly, that's something that we are coming to at the later stage of the webinar, where we are going to present the outlook for the new features. But sneak peek, yes, definitely we're working on this. That's also one of the majorly requested features, because of course we don't do this for ourselves, right? We do this for our loyal customer base. So we listen to what we're hearing, and we try to improve to, of course, make the best changes that help you in your business to grow.
Awesome.
Which is also one of the new sections which we added to the dashboard, which, if I reload, just give it a second, we have a new notifications section in here, which should come up when you have active SIMs. Let me just quickly check this one here. So active SIM and the device is disabled, which should warn you about, so just not having it here, maybe it takes a second to load for the API, which should warn you about SIMs which we charge you for, but which cannot actually be used because your device or your endpoint representation is disabled. So this we brought in because we see that, of course, you need to transition from the old portal to the new one. And this means that there could be a discrepancy between active SIMs and inactive endpoints. And we just wanted to make sure that we warn you about things that we charge for, which you potentially don't want to be charged. So that's something where we tried in the new portal to really help you to figure this out. But anyway, if you use only the new portal, then flipping this switch will activate the SIM and it will activate the endpoint. So it means it can go online, data connection can be used. And when either of them is disabled, we show this switch here as off to indicate, hey, by the way, this one here cannot be used. So it will be consistent if you use the new portal, and it will allow you to do the actions only when it's possible. So if the device is disabled, of course, you cannot reset your connectivity. And so the button here for reset connectivity is missing in this second. That's about the SIM status and the new term, which is connected devices instead of endpoints, which, by the way, was also chosen wisely because we were asked many times, what does this endpoint mean? So we hope that with the new term here, connected devices, it will be more clear what it does. That's almost it, I think, from the changes. There's one more thing. Before we had service profiles and tariff profiles, and the service profiles had the configuration where you set your data connectivity to allow 3G, 4G, and you set your regional breakout, enabled quota management, prepaid, and so on. And we said that we would like to have this in a bit of a better descriptive name. So we said it's the service policy, which allows you to set a policy, what your devices should be allowed to do, what they shouldn't be allowed to do, set usage limits and so on. So we thought the name would fit a bit better. And we also made these settings here a bit more descriptive. So we are describing more what MO and MT is, and describe all the further details also much more. We added some information here, which is better accessible than I think here in some places we had a hover, which you didn't know if it's there or not. So if you are there and you wait, then it comes up. And as soon as you move away, this will just disappear. So we improved here the user experience and all of these bugs here that you see. Also, in the more options section, you see already some new features which were added here, which didn't make it in the old portal. And this quota management and prepaid balance management, before you needed to have an API integration to use them. Now it will actually help you to set all the things up correctly. And you can also go to your connected devices and set up the data quota, which you configure here to be used correctly. So it's we really brought the missing points here to not only have a switch which gets your devices offline, but also have the option to configure it in the user interface now consistently. That's the one thing in the policies, and the other thing is the coverage policy. So before it was called tariff profiles, but what this is about is actually mainly your rate zones, right? So in which areas of the world should your devices have coverage, and you can allow or disallow this. So rest of America, I can disable here to not have coverage there. And then there was this funny list here with Afghanistan and then stars, and you see by the stars how many operators you would have in this country. So there was also a list view, and you would see, okay, it's 2 operators there. And we improved this in the new portal where we say, okay, we show you the prices of each rate zone. We show you where you have included volume. We show you how many operators are in there, how many networks, and how many countries. And if you click on it, you get to a new table view here, where you can see the coverage by country or by rate zone. And you can expand or collapse all these rate zones or search for a country where you're interested in, and you will get all the details about this country and all the prices of it. And you will even have a map where you can see, okay, what coverage do I have here? Okay, in Bulgaria, what network operators are available? Where do I have included volume, and so on. So we are really trying to make this much more user-friendly and give you even different options how to look at the data and see where are which costs applying and where is the coverage at the moment set up. So if I would remove Americas, for example, here from my connectivity, from my coverage, then America would be grayed out, and I see exactly in these countries which have a color my devices could use mobile network. So that's it from the transition things. So what things changed, what is different between the old and new portal. There's tons of more small things that would change, but these should be the major changes for most of you. If there are any questions, as Jeff said before, please hit them into the comments and we will cover them.
Sweet. So I don't see any key questions at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and bring us forward just a little bit. That covered kind of the transitional items between the old and new portal. What are some perhaps new features that were not present in the old portal that really brings out the usability that's been focused on in building and designing the new portal?
Sure. For this, I'm going to close the left-hand side because I think it's not so much relevant anymore for this one. So maybe let's start from the dashboard and then walk through the different views. And on the first one, we already see here the onboarding guides, which are some tiles which try to help somebody who comes newly to our system to find the first actions they can do, like ordering SIM cards and so on, registering SIM cards to our system, which kind of help them there. But just that you don't miss it, there is a second tab to which you can switch for existing customers, and it will remember this selection, so you will always see then the events. And here we list, as before in the upper right-hand corner, we had this button where you could see all the events for your organization. you will see this now in here. So you have it on the dashboard as before also, but we added all the options for filtering, like showing relative or absolute dates, to expand every single row, to expand all of the rows, and even deep links to the device directly. So if I see, oh, my endpoint here was enabled, which one is it? Then I click onto it, I'll get into the details, and I can directly analyze this device. So as we're speaking of an endpoint here, just keep in mind our events and our whole backend API didn't change. So everything is backwards compatible. That means the events are still referencing everything that you're known to, so that your API integrations will also know. So if you set up any data streamer, you will get the same events. Everything will keep mentioning endpoints for now, because of course, we want to make sure that your application and your integrations are not failing when we do changes. So we just bring the changes to the user interface so that using our system will become easier for everybody who's new to it. And everything on the technical background side is still the same, and it's also using the same terms here. What else do we have on the first page? We have the language selection, of course, in the upper right-hand corner. So you can just choose Spanish, and it will instantly change the whole interface to Spanish. French, Italian, Portuguese, and German are all supported. I just go ahead and switch back to English so that you can read what's written on here. And in the lower left-hand corner, we have the organization ID listed, which we sometimes request for support access, and the version of the application so that we can track which version have you been using when you send us a screenshot, or when you have any trouble, which also indicates that you can keep using the same version of the application. So sometimes on the bottom right corner, there's an update available. This means we don't want to interrupt your process whenever we bring some new translations, some new features, whatever. It will all come in the background, and you can decide when you want to have the newest version and want to get the newest features. One more thing that's also new is all the dates and the formats of the numbers are adapted by your local time zone. So you always see your local times. And if we don't have the time zone available, let's say it's a day, so on the 1st of October or something, then we indicate that this means 1st of October UTC, so the UTC date. And this is explicitly mentioned everywhere. And if I change to German now, you see also there's a comma added here instead of a point, which is in Germany usual, but in America, for example, you use a point to separate them. And also the date formats are being adapted to match to the used or the usual date formats in that region. On the lower left hand, we have a few more new things. Before we had some support link on the start page. This is now more accessible here. The product updates is a completely new section, and there's a red dot here indicating that there is news. So I can read here what EMnify has rolled out in the past and what cool things have been added here. And we see something like bulk actions here already, which I'm going to come to later. We also have the system status here, which is linked. So you can go here and check, is everything working well with EMnify? And just to reference it here, if you didn't yet, please subscribe to any updates, because we send out updates proactively if anything should happen to our system. If there's anything like a downtime, as we have seen in the past days with Slack and with WhatsApp and Facebook. So we notify you on these events. We are very transparent here on everything, on our uptime and so on. And you can not only monitor it here, but get updates on it as well. And if there should be any incident here, we will automatically show a notification right in this portal, and it will pop over your portal here on the lower left-hand side. And it will say, by the way, we have currently something going on. There's an issue in this and that country, the operator there, maybe the telecom system of that operator is down, whatever. And we notify you about anything like that in time, right where you are using the system. in case you didn't subscribe for it yet. And then there's the last point, which is feature requests, which takes us to a page here where you can see firstly our roadmap, so the things that we are currently working on, that we have in progress planned, or which we are currently reviewing. And you can also give feedback, so submit a feature request, a request for data analytics, bug reports, coverage, or integrations with automation tools. And you can also look at the changelog again, which is the longer version of what you've seen in the product updates section below. So in this one here. And that's pretty much everything on the dashboard. And as you can see, there's tons of changes all over the place, and new menu up here for the user settings and the organization settings. And that's also one of the things that we were focusing on, which is self-service, so that you can really set up everything, maintain your organization data. So you can here change your country, your organization name, if there should have been a typo, change your legal address if that changed, put in your VAT ID, company registration number, and so on. And you will see what data we have saved here, change your invoice address, add us a technical contact, financial or commercial contact, so we know in situations when there's an issue who to contact. Employees section stayed the same. The billing section was added here, and you can really see like what you're set up with. You can also change your payment method here. You will see the VAT which applies to you, and you will also see, like before in the billing view, an overview of what is coming up in the future. So what will be charged you at the end of the month. And you can see below history of your past invoices. In the past, we had that in a drop-down, and sometimes it was really hard to find the right invoice. So we now make it easier and just list them here. For me, they are all canceled because I won't get charged by EMnify, but for you, they will be either open or paid, of course. And then let's head over to the connected devices. There's now 2 views, and we are going to work on this to make it even more smooth for you. We have some feedback which we received over the feedback tool already, but for now, from the first feedback we gathered, we already heard that people wanted to have a more detailed view with all of the numbers included as they had before on the UI, on the old portal. So we said, okay, we bring 2 views. One is the detailed view where you have all the IDs in here, and one is a simple view where you only see status, your tags, the connectivity status, the usage, the SIM status, and the email log. And these 2 views are operating exactly the same. So right now there's just a difference in how many data we display per device. Additionally to that, on the left-hand side, there is now a checkbox where you can do bulk updates. So you can mark, in my case here, 5 devices. I have 2 pages. So it will not be all devices that I have, but only the page size. So if I go for 10, then I have some more here, and I can select them. And now I'm updating 6 devices. What we have for the devices here is a reset connectivity for all of them at the same time, or actually it's a bulk process, so it will run one by one. So let's say I'm taking these 2 here, and I could reset them now both. I could send them both an SMS. So typing in my SMS message, so APN hash EM for EMnify to set up the EMnify APN. And you could put in any source, so where it should be sent from, or even leave it empty as per your preference. We also built in something that when you put a source, you could save it as a default. So the next time you come to the SMS interface, it will take this source or this sender address and send with that sender address. So that's for 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could save, and I'm going to see it later again. Also, you can enable or disable the devices in bulk, of course, and it will only do the action which is outstanding. So if I say I want to enable these devices and one is enabled, one is disabled, it will only update one of them, which is the disabled one, and the other one will of course stay as it is. And now both are enabled. I can set the email lock, and as it's set for both, it will say nothing has changed because it was already enabled for both. And there's much more options here on the right-hand side, and we are even going to add more in the future, of course. So you can blacklist operators in bulk, add tags in bulk, change the service policy for many devices, or the coverage, or release all the SIMs of it, or delete them. By the way, deleting is only possible at the moment via this deletion option here, because we didn't see it happening very often, so we didn't want to add a major button here for now. Then, as you can see, there's already many new things, and the tags we have reworked a ton. So now you see them separated here, and you can even click on them. So I can say, I want to see all the ones all my devices which are in my van. So I click on van, it will update the filter by tags and choose the tag van. And if I go and select test, it will only give me the ones which are containing the test tag. And I can delete this filter here, and it will update the view, and I'm back on all of my devices. Let's maybe also open the SMS console once before. So this was before in the details of the device, and you needed to go into a separate section then. So open the details of the device, go to the right tab, and then you were there. But now it's a one-click away from your device, and you will have a conversational view. And as you can see already down here, there is the originator or the source address already set to my previous default number. So if I change it here, I can send an SMS from this new phone number, and it will pop up. Maybe I just send it to my phone here. Let's set this test SMS, not multi-line, just one. And it will be like a conversation where I can see the status that it was delivered. I can even see when it was delivered, at which time. I can send it again, and then it will just pre-fill here the SMS field, or I will get a reply and it will pop up here from the device which replied. And if we go into the details, we will of course see all the details that we saw before. So the consumption, and we can select here of the last hour of the current month. So it will just do it by day, and of the last month, and I will see the consumption in the last month. So if I go back to last hour, of course, it's much more fine-grained, and I can see exactly, of course, at which time, how much. And I can analyze data or SMS usage, but yeah, didn't send too many SMS. All the other data is still present here, like all the connectivity details as we had it before, so nothing changed here. We just improved the operator blacklist here to be visible right at the first screen, so that you don't need to go into any details. When you open it, you see everything at a glance, and you see everything in green if everything is working and fine, and if it's online. So all the details as before. Tag management is much more improved, so you can go here for January. And if you hit a comma, it will go into the next tag, or if you hit test tag here, enter, it will just add it and you will go into the next one. And you can just remove them like this as well. There's also the events view here as before. You can see the location of the device if it's in 2G. And you can also see the statistics of it for this week, last week, current month, last month, or the last 2 months. And close it here again. So everything as before, assigning of a SIM card here will be just one button away. So if there's no SIM assigned to your device yet, before you had a drop-down menu, which you could select the ICC ID from, and now we improved it so that you have a search, you have paging there, you can really get the right SIM card that you want to have. You can show already assigned SIMs, so if you want to get SIMs which are currently assigned to a device, you can select it, and it's going to warn you that you would override it, and this other device would then lose the connection. So really an improved version here, because we also got this complaint from customers. They said, I'm having 10,000 SIMs. This dropdown doesn't give me all 10,000. I cannot get the right one. And right now, we added the paging here, we added the search, so you can really get the right SIM, assign it to the device, and it's going to be working. Also, you see on this device, it's using a different policy here, which is the quota policy. And this is a policy where enabled quota management, and you can write in the dashboard of your device, you can see the quota and the current consumption of it, if it's expired, if it's active, and so on. So as I said, this quota management is now in the new portal. You can configure data quota, SMS quota, manage it right in here. You don't need to use the API anymore. It's very intuitive, the date format. As I said, if it's UTC, it will show it in UTC. And also the prepaid management, if you are using our prepaid feature, then you can add your balance here, put auto reset as you like, reset the balance. Yeah, all that is now baked into the user interface. And that's the major view, but there are still some minor changes, like when you ordered SIM cards, you can directly see here the tracking number if there is one assigned to it, and you can click on it and track the parcel. You will see anything like where we shipped it to. You get your invoice to download, not for me because I don't have an invoice on this one, but you can download and manage your invoices for any past orders. You see exactly what you ordered, when you ordered it, who ordered it, where it was ordered to, and so on. You see even the updates if it was delivered or shipped, and so on. So we keep you really posted on things now, and you really have an overview over all your past orders. And that should help also with the requests that we had in the past, where customers were asking like, hey, where's my order? I cannot find it, or that they wanted to have the invoice for the order that they were doing, and maybe for some reason they were throwing it away, it was lost, whatever. Also coming to the next view, which we called integrations, we added way improved overview over our data streamer integrations. So the most popular is the webhook, and now we improved how you can stream different events. So let's say you want to get update locations or update PDP context or anything else like this streamed to your application. It's really a few clicks only, and you have this setting here. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, you get error reports here. You see where it's streamed to. All this detail is available here, as well as—
I think one very useful feature you enabled for the data streamer is the possibility to rename it, because at least on our testing environment, we have a lot of data streamers, and it was always complicated to know, okay, who's using what and so on. So I think this is very useful, especially when you're testing and you have two webhook data streamers. In the past, you had webhook and webhook, and you couldn't really know and tell which one is for testing and which one is a real one. So this is, yeah, a small but very useful feature.
Thanks, Jean, for pointing this out. There's so many features, as you can see. I'm sometimes even losing the overview of them. So yes, that's something we added also on popular request, that you could rename them. Just small things like you can collapse sections here if you don't want to look at them for now. And yeah, on adding API tokens, you can also set an expiry date now. And you can add IP restrictions, so to say, so to define that only a certain server IP should be able to use this application token. And as before, you can see and manage them here. IP address space assignment is also there as before. Nothing changed much in this one.
On this one, I would disagree with you, because we actually now enable our customers also to add more IP address spaces. We used to limit it to a certain number, and when customers were reaching, I think it was like around 1,000 devices, they needed to use the API to add more IP address spaces. Now we don't limit it anymore, and you don't need to use the API. Everything is very user friendly, and you can do it from the portal, which is, yeah, it's great for our support team, for our CSM team, and for our customers, obviously.
And maybe the most important change is before, when you exceeded a certain number of SIM cards and you registered a new batch of 500 devices and you only had, let's say, 50 IPs left in your space, it would give you an error and you would need to go and assign an IP address space. We now, in the new portal, we really improved the SIM registration process. So if you register 500 devices and there's not enough IPs available in the space, it will automatically assign a new one if you select to, and this is the default selection. So hopefully you won't need to manage this yourself anymore. If you are not keen on having a specific one, then it will automatically select the new one for you if there is not enough IP addresses available. So this process should be much easier, much more user-friendly now than before. But yes, if you need to do it manually, there is no restriction anymore, and you can use as many here as you want. Okay, then coming to the service and device policies. First thing you realize here is automatic breakout region. Before we just said breakout region, but what it actually meant was that you define the automatic breakout region change. I'm sorry for this, which means that when your device is, let's say, changing its location from the US to Europe, then it would automatically change to the closest internet access point, which is then in Ireland, EU West 1. And if it changes back to the US, then it would switch to the US East breakout and would have a reduced latency by this. So we changed the naming here and we displayed right at the beginning so that you know how many devices are in this policy and where is this one breaking out, because we saw many customers are naming their policy to reflect the breakout region. And now you can see already there, I can name my policy as I want, and this feature I don't need to reflect now anymore in here. Usage limits work as before, but you have now a search in here, and it's not displayed if you don't decide that you need it. 3G, 4G, all kept like this. You can switch between SMS interface, web portal, webhook, or SMPP as before. Nothing different here. And of course, the breakout region selection is still available. You can also go to more options and you will find our new feature DNS configuration, where I can select for this specific policy to use a custom DNS. So if I'm in my VPN, if I'm in my server environment and my devices should connect to my own DNS server, then I can really just hit it into here, select it, and it will be used for all of the devices of this policy. And if I should ever not want it anymore, I deselect it from the policy and it's gone. Data quota, as I said, it will warn you before you enable it. So it will not be a slight warning like, by the way, if you enable this and you don't see it, but you need to confirm that you do it, because enabling data quota will disable any connectivity for your devices unless you then give them a quota that they can use. So we have this info here and we have the warning to turn it on or off. And it's for data and SMS quota. Before it was only possible in the UI for data quota. So we added it in all of the functionality that we are offering on the backend. Prepaid balance management, same thing. It will warn you before you activate it, so much more user-friendly than before. You cannot do a mistake that easily anymore, and it will not cause your devices to go offline. Additional services, as before, USSD is always supported. You cannot turn it off. Voice calls is not on by default, and you would need to get in contact with us to enable it, but that's unchanged. We added a link to pre-filter your devices by the policy so that you quickly get to the relevant devices. And that's already it on the service policy. Coverage policy I was showing before. No other major changes there, much more insights, but that's it. Reports, we restructured a bit because there was this back and forth navigation before, and now you can navigate our embedded reports, which we have just easily here on the top. So if I want to go to the overview of the current month, I will get my embedded analytics report here, and it's loading, and it's still an iframe as we had it before. This is the part which we are going to work on in the future again, but for now, this is as in the old portal. We just improved the navigation that you can quicker change from one to the other report. Everything else stays the same. And now lastly, let's come to the SIM inventory. And here you also have the bulk actions as in the devices. And one major thing which was heavily requested was bulk device creation. So you choose the right SIMs that you want and you create devices for all of them at the same time. There's something in there which I want to keep for later. So I'm going to go ahead like this. So I put my default name, so just device, and I can add default tags here for all of them. And as you see, IP address is automatic, and I can edit it and say which space I want to use, but if I don't, it will stay on automatic. Can enable the email lock and can select the service policy. Coverage policy, as you can see here, is automatically selected because I only have one. So it will not give me the option to change it because there's only one. And it will say how many are affected. I can also deactivate the SIMs. So we have, in case there is an active SIM without a device, we have a warning in here. And as I said, it's going to be on the dashboard as well. So you are going to see that on the dashboard, this warning. And in case you want to do it manually, you can go here, select the two devices which you want to deactivate, and you deactivate them. For now, none of them is active and has a device attached to it, so should be all fine. And then the last thing is something which is a sneak peek into the future, and you already see here a new icon which is saying factory test. And this is something that we are still working on, but it's already in beta test. So we already have it for some customers in our user interface, which is a new mode for our SIM cards, which will be an option that you don't pay for the testing in the factory. So it's active, it can be used, and while the device is in the production, it will be able to signal, but only when it goes out to the customer who will start to pay for it. And with that, I think we are through the new features so far.
I believe we have one question. And the question, maybe you can answer it, Michael, is when we are creating several devices at once and we set the name, how does the naming work? Do they all get the same name, or could we have like a numbering system, or yeah, tell us.
So for now, yes, they all get the same name. So if I say test devices, and I create them, so I guess you mean from here. And so if I set them, it will ask me, by the way, to activate it, and it will warn me that activating of the SIMs, as I said, we now have the stages combined. It will warn me that this may incur monthly charges. So I'm going to go ahead and say leave them disabled. And it will create two devices. And while this process is running, I already head over to the connected devices. I already see the first one. So there is some numbering applied, as you can see here, but the numbering that's applied, just give it a second, is automatically added. So it adds a -1, -2, and so on.
Something we get from our customers feedback is that they notice that when they are clicking on the connected devices page, it seems to load sometimes. It looks slow. Could you tell us how we are loading the information and what's the difference towards the previous portal is?
Sure. Okay, so one thing we see a lot is that customers are setting this devices per page to 500 to work around an issue, I guess, in many cases where they would like to search for a part of the ICC ID, for example, which is something that sadly isn't supported at the moment. So that's why, so maybe I just present this here. So if I go ahead and put only this part here, no, sorry. The last part, select this one here, which is a common thing because the start is always the same, but the end is different, right? The last characters are different. It's not working, right? But if I take this piece and I list all 500 devices and I search for it via Control F, then it will highlight it and I can find it on the page. And this is something that in the old portal worked quite well because you could list 500 devices easily and you could just search the whole page. The problem on the new portal is we try to bring this new data in it without yet, like as early as possible, so without restructuring our complete search yet and our listing API. And therefore, when you scroll down, it will load this data if it's online, if it has any usage, what is the SIM status, and so on. It will load on the fly. So this means I scroll down and it is loading this data then as you get to it. So it's already loaded. I'm just reloading here. So you see it's loaded, and I scroll down and it just loaded it here and here. So it takes a moment. In this presentation, it goes pretty quick because I don't have 500 devices, but we load it as soon as you scroll to it. This means, yes, there is some data missing and we don't show all the 500 entries because rendering this rich views is something that would bring the browser to the CPU limit, which we saw before, because of all the rendering that we do and the conditional formatting and so on, with showing the reset connectivity only if the device is active and there is a connection and so on. So all of this is really, really intensive in compute, and that's why we have this view for now loaded as you scroll down. But we are working on this and we really want to bring back this experience, but we try to bring it in a way that you don't need to search via Control F anymore on your page, but that you can actually use the search here and not only filter by one, but by multiple parameters and also by partial ICC IDs, for example. So this is something that is right on our backlog. And as you can see in the feature requests, we have this as advanced listing, filtering, and sorting for devices and SIMs here. And it's rated at the moment, actually not the highest priority. It's on 8 votes here. So if you would like to have this feature, please head over here and give it a thumbs up, and you will be notified on any updates. And there are customers of us heavily discussing here with mainly me at the moment about all the things that they would like, and also suggestions actually how to bring something like that in the near future. So yes, that's actually ongoing, and we will notify you if you subscribe here of any updates on this, and it will come into the new portal. Yeah, and please stay tuned.
Well, I saw you were on Kenny, and there was one other question from one participant. We got a lot of questions right now coming in regarding the dark mode. We don't have a dark mode right now, but I think there is one request already for dark mode. So yeah, Nicholas, feel free to go on Kenny and vote for this one if you want the dark mode. It's a nice to have, I think. I'm pretty sure we have more like useful features that we will work on, but definitely this is a nice to have.
Yeah, and we are definitely looking into this, and we prepared the whole new portal here for it, because yes, we know it's very bright on the eyes in the night. So definitely one of the things that's coming. Yeah, so maybe for the things coming up, which was the last point which we wanted to cover today. As I said, we are working on bringing a much improved search here that you can list those devices by connectivity status, that it will not change this, this state here as you scroll down, but that it actually shows the right data. So we are working on search and listing, and also on some further improvements, like here, clicking here on the device status, and you will get to your online devices or something like this, right? So these things that are, I would say, hard on the background, but something really nice and improving the time that you are spending every day on our portal. These are the things that we are going to tackle next. Also, as you have seen, this factory test here, it's right now in testing, and we are going to roll it out to first beta customers. So if you're interested to try it, please go ahead and contact our sales or customer support, and they will happily help you on this one. And future things, aside from dark mode, which of course we are also tackling, is actually sub-accounts. So currently, when you scale out and you have different projects, like let's say you have a GPS tracker business there, and you have another business running somewhere else because you're a big corporation, then we want to enable in the future that you can manage your employees in one central place and allow them only access to a certain subset of your devices, which is something that we get requested a lot. So again, here we have it as an Epic sub-account and project support. And this is right now the most voted feature. So if you're interested in that, just go ahead, subscribe, and please leave us a comment if the details that we are describing in here don't fit what you would need. So that's a collaboration platform. So let us know if you're interested in that. And we are trying to bring the best to you that we can. And last but not least is analytics. So as you saw here, like we have the data traffic and we have online, offline, and what you're using, right? And with this notification that I was talking about before, which would indicate if there is a SIM which you're paying for but you cannot use it. Maybe I hand over saying that there is going to be some things that we are doing on analytics, and we are going to keep you posted here on Kenny on this product feedback tool here. So please go ahead and use it. And with that, I would just hand over back over to Jeff.
Sweet. All right. So I want to again thank everybody for joining. There were more questions and a lot of comments, and even some feature requests that came in through the questions tool here on GoToWebinar. So all of those feature requests, do make sure to add them to the feature requests on our site, get those voted on so that we can actually incorporate it into the product. There are a lot of good ideas there, including some ideas regarding accessibility. So that's pretty cool. Thanks everyone for joining. I think that's everything for today. If you have more questions, do feel free to contact support or sales regarding anything in the presentation, or of course, anything regarding EMnify. We're all very happy to help you out. And we look forward to seeing all of you again in upcoming webinars. Cheers.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.